What if I told you that the most terrifying things in life are usually just shadows? That most of what you fear will never happen, and the tiny percent that does, you can handle it. The Stoics figured this out over 2,000 years ago. They faced wars, exile, betrayal, and even death with calm minds, while we panic when the Wi-Fi drops. The difference? They used a mental trick so powerful that it could make your fears vanish like fog in the sun. And no, it's not magic. It's philosophy done right. Before we dive into this ancient Stoic mind trick to overcome fear, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to help support our journey. Stick with me till the end. I promise this one mental shift can change how you face everything from awkward conversations to existential dread. Number 1. What is fear really? Fear isn't the monster. It's the whisper about the monster. Fear is the imagination's horror movie, and Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." And he wasn't being dramatic, just accurate. Our minds love to dramatize the future, and fear feeds off that fantasy. Let's say you're about to give a speech. Your hands shake, your mind races, and somehow you've convinced yourself you'll faint on stage, forget your name, and your career will be over. The Stoics would say, pause. You're afraid of a story, not the event itself. The fear is in the prediction, not in reality. Stoicism teaches us that fear is often exaggerated through anticipation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the Stoic starting point. Realizing fear is internal. And that realization alone can already reduce fear by half. So, fear is a story, a prediction, a bad trailer for a movie that probably won't get made. But how do we stop watching it? That's where the Stoic mind trick comes in. Number 2. The trick, premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Here it is, the most powerful Stoic trick to conquer fear, premeditatio malorum. Sounds like a spell from Hogwarts, right? But it's pure Roman genius. It means the premeditation of evils, or in plain English, imagine the worst-case scenario on purpose. Yeah, the Stoics were hardcore. Seneca practiced this every day. He'd imagine losing everything, his home, his health, his loved ones. And not in a depressing way, but as mental preparation. He called this rehearsing adversity. The idea was simple. If you've already faced it in your mind, reality can't scare you as much. Imagine you're terrified of getting fired. You think through it. Okay, I lose my job. I feel embarrassed. I have to move back in with my parents or downsize. I hustle. I rebuild. I grow stronger. Suddenly, it's not a horror story. It's a rocky reboot. You've already survived it mentally, and that calms the storm. It's not about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared. Ironically, imagining the worst can free you from its grip. The mind says, "Oh, that's it? That's survivable." And like that, fear deflates, like a balloon losing air. Or your ego after checking your ex's new partner. Don't do that. Number 3, detachment from the outcome. One of the reasons fear dominates us is because we cling so tightly to outcomes. We want things to go just right, or we spiral. The Stoics taught the art of detachment. Do what you can. Let go of the rest. That's it. Simple, but hard. Let's say you're afraid of asking someone out. Why? Because you're not just asking, you're tying your self-worth to the answer. If they say yes, you're a legend. If they say no, you're invisible. The Stoics would laugh at this. Epictetus would say, "You control your intention, not their reaction." When you detach from the outcome, you neutralize fear. You focus on the effort, not the result. You control what you say, not how they feel about it. That mental shift is freedom. You become unshakable, not because everything goes your way, but because you stop needing it to. We fear what we don't control. But once we realize we never did control it, the weight lifts. Stoicism is like a mental chiropractor. It snaps your perspective back into place. Painful for a second, but oh so relieving. Number 4, voluntary discomfort, training for toughness. This is where Stoicism gets savage. They didn't just talk about fear, they trained for it. Seneca would sleep on the floor, eat plain food, and wear ragged clothes just to prove to himself, I can handle this. It was called voluntary discomfort. And yes, that sounds like a bad vacation, but it's mental jujitsu. When you expose yourself to controlled difficulty, your brain adapts. You become less scared of hardship because you've practiced it. You're no longer some glass ornament, hoping life doesn't shake too hard. You're forged like iron. Try it. Take a cold shower. Skip a meal. Talk to a stranger. Work without your phone nearby. Okay, that last one's brutal. Every time you lean into discomfort, you shrink the power fear holds over you. You become more stoic. The truth is, fear hates confidence. But confidence isn't born, it's trained. One voluntary discomfort at a time. And trust me, no one panics about losing Wi-Fi after they've gone a week without hot water. Number 5, reframing and humor, Stoic power tools. Marcus Aurelius fought wars, buried children, led an empire, and still wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say. It wasn't grim. It was freeing. The Stoics mastered reframing, turning fear into clarity. You can reframe fear as fuel. Nervous about a job interview? Reframe. This means I care. That's a good sign. Scared of public speaking? Fear means I'm growing. You're not broken, you're human. Even Spartans got scared. They just didn't let it stop them. And don't forget, humor is a Stoic weapon. Epictetus used sarcasm like a sword. He once said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize your mind is complicit in the provocation. Translation: if Karen ruins your mood, that's your bad. Laugh at fear. Mock it. Make it small. Fear loves when you freeze. But when you smile at it, when you wink and walk through it anyway, that's Stoic. That's power. That's freedom. Number 6, fear thrives in vagueness. Define it clearly. The Stoics believed that clarity kills fear. Marcus Aurelius would break down his fears into small parts, almost like disassembling a bomb. He knew that when you define fear clearly, it loses its foggy power. It becomes a problem, not a prison. Let's say you're scared of failing a business. What does fail even mean? Going broke? Getting mocked? Living in a cardboard box with bad Wi-Fi? Define it. Write it down. Break it apart. Maybe failing just means learning faster than others. See? Clarity shifts everything. This is why journaling is so essential in Stoic practice. It's not just for Instagram quotes and aesthetic flat lays. It's where you interrogate fear, question it, and expose it. And guess what? Most fears crumble under scrutiny, like a cookie in warm milk. Yum. So next time fear creeps in, grab a pen. Ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Why? What's the worst case scenario? Can I survive it? Once you answer, the fear loses its mystery. And what isn't mysterious isn't scary. Number 7, fear of death, the ultimate illusion. The Stoics didn't avoid death. They looked it in the eye and sipped their wine. Marcus Aurelius wrote about death constantly, not because he was obsessed, but because he understood. Fear of death is the root of all fear. And once you face that, you're untouchable. People fear death not because it hurts, but because it's unknown. The Stoics flipped that. Seneca said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Boom. Death isn't the problem. Wasting your life is. Think about it. Most fears are branches on the death tree. Fear of rejection? Social death. Fear of failure? Ego death. But if you realize death is just a natural exit like leaving a theater, the panic softens. You're free to act boldly, love openly, and live presently. You don't overcome fear by pretending you're immortal. You overcome it by remembering, You're not. And that's why every moment matters. The Stoics didn't fear death. They used it to sharpen life. Number 8. Focus on what you can control. This is the Stoic mantra. Tattoo it on your forehead, or maybe just write it on your wall. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. Simple, powerful, life-changing. Fear often shows up when we try to control the uncontrollable, other people, the future, the economy, Mercury retrograde. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not. If it's not up to you, release it. If it is, handle it." Take flying, for example. People fear plane crashes, turbulence, bad landings. But you don't fly the plane. You chose a safe airline, you sat down, you buckled up. Done. Now breathe. You've done your part. The rest? Not your domain. You gain peace not by controlling everything, but by realizing you don't have to. This mindset turns fear into focus, into strategy, into calm. You become a force, not a feather in the wind. And suddenly, life feels a lot more manageable, even if the plane does hit turbulence. Number 9. View fear as a teacher, not a threat. Here's where Stoicism flips the script. Fear isn't just an enemy, it's a teacher. The Stoics would say, if something scares you, examine it. Learn from it. Grow through it. Don't avoid it. Interrogate it. For example, you fear speaking up in meetings. Why? Maybe deep down, you don't feel worthy. There's your lesson. Build self-worth. Or maybe you fear ending a toxic relationship. Lesson? You crave comfort more than peace. Again, awareness is the win. Fear reveals what you value, what you lack, what you cling to. In that sense, fear is like Google Maps. It shows you where you're stuck. But unlike Google Maps, it doesn't make annoying turn-by-turn voice updates. That's a bonus. So don't hate fear. Listen to it. Learn its language. Translate it into action. And soon you'll realize, fear wasn't trying to break you. It was trying to build you, just in a really loud and annoying way. Number 10, take immediate action, even small ones. Last but not least, action. The Stoics were doers. They didn't sit around thinking about courage. They acted in spite of fear, because they knew action is the antidote to anxiety. And procrastination? That's fear's best friend. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Savage, but true. Fear shrinks the moment you move. Call that person. Hit publish. Step on stage. Whatever it is, even one small action breaks the spell. Let's say you're scared to start a YouTube channel. I see you out there. Don't wait to feel ready. Record one video. Messy is fine. Cringe is expected. But movement is what matters. You can't outthink fear. You outdo it. And here's the twist. Every action builds momentum. And with momentum, fear doesn't disappear. It just can't keep up. So take the step. Any step. Especially the one you've been putting off. As the Stoics knew, the way to become brave is to act like you already are. Now you've got the full Stoic playbook. You know fear is internal. You know how to use premeditatio malorum. You know how to detach, reframe, laugh, act, and even sip tea with death itself. You've got tools, now use them. If this video gave you even a single idea that made fear feel smaller, don't forget to like and subscribe to help support this journey. We're building a community of thinkers, doers, and modern-day Stoics right here, and we're just getting started.